The Politics podcast is brought to you, as always, by The Contender. TheContender.us has all your Black Friday deals. You want a few of them? Here we go. How about this weekend on TheContender.us, the original 500 card base deck that goes the entire gamut of American democracy from George Washington to Donald Trump. It will never seem normal that I say that sentence. That is available right now for the most patriotic price point of all time, $17.76. We have mini expansions. They're all back. All the ones that we did over the year. The television and movie president expansion. The all three debate expansions. The All I Do Is Win expansion. All available to you as a unit together, $40. And you get 2 tuck boxes. It's been a huge thing that a lot of people have told us, hey, I bought all these expansions. Now I got all these loose cards hanging around. Well, we have tuck boxes for sale as well. Those little Contender lapel pins, they're back too. You can also get the base deck, the politically incorrect deck, the 2016 deck, and the lapel pins for $40. And this weekend only, use code GOBBLE at checkout, GOBBLE, GOBBLE at checkout, and you get free shipping on everything. That 1776 deck, you got it free. This is only for domestic. Sorry, foreign. But the deals are still good. You just don't get free shipping this weekend. Thank you guys so much for supporting The Contender. It means a lot to me, Meg, Fawn, John. We all thank you so much for supporting this game. Now is a great time to get into it, or maybe pick up a few copies so you can give them away during the holidays. Makes an excellent stocking stuffer. TheContender.us. And by Stickers or DIAF, the new Diamond Club holiday packs are available. They have amazing stuff. Ruin 'em wine labels that are actually from the manufacturer. They never went on bottles of wine. You can have them. 2 brand new designs, including one of me, an amazing image of me in a Charmander onesie on an actual stripper pole. It's amazing. Go ahead and check it out. Stickers or DIAF. But enough of talking about how we do the show. How about live and direct from Davie, Florida? We just do the damn thing! This is the most ghetto stream we've ever done, live from my mom's house. It's some freaking politics. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the Politics program. My name is Justin Robert Young. I am coming to you live from the mean streets of Davie, Florida. I am literally outside on my mom's porch right now. If you are only listening on audio, then the reason why this is going to sound so janky and you're going to hear ambient noises like air conditioners going off and people splashing at the community pool next door is because I am indeed outside enjoying the absolutely picture-perfect, gorgeous weather of South Florida during the fall season, and I could not be happier to come to you guys from where I grew up. You know, this is where it all happened. This is where the house I was raised in. Lived here since I was 12, maybe 11 even. So many great memories here, and now I am very pleased to share it with you. So if you are watching this on youtube.com/Justin Robert Young, then you see I am indeed holding up a very schwitzy glass of Pinot Gris, recording this at 2 o'clock here Eastern time on the afternoon. Let me pause for the cause real quick. Yeah. Sip of Gris for the working man. Well, goddamn, son. We have a lot to talk about. And I'm going to let you guys know this, all right? If throwing a zig hail in a random a Washington, D.C. ballroom is wrong, then I don't want to be alt-right. Alt-right, that's been the big topic. The big topic so far. Donald Trump continues to transition his way from business tycoon to the 45th president of the United States. And meanwhile, we have Nazis. like not playing. I mean, man, I feel like we need a reset. We need a reset on terminology, because I'm a little confused. Because you got people out here running around talking about how they're Nazis, right? But a Nazi is alt-right, but Breitbart is alt-right, and Steve Bannon's Breitbart, but is Steve Bannon a Nazi? Because I had read an interview with Steve Bannon where he said that he wasn't a Nazi and nobody else is more pro-Israel than he is. But then they said Pepe the Frog was alt-right, but is Pepe a Nazi? And then meanwhile, there's like pictures of Nazis in an Italian restaurant with Tila Tequila. Tila Tequila's a not. So Tila Tequila, who has several sex tapes and is famous for having a bisexual dating show, you can have a bisexual dating show and be a Nazi, and meanwhile they're in an Italian restaurant. I mean, just like, I don't want to run this one back here, but, you know, outside of the military allegiance during World War II, the purebred Nazi folk don't exactly take kindly to the low stock Italian folks. You know, it's so, I mean, if they're Nazis and they're eating chicken parmesan, does that mean that they're alt-right? Is it better that... Which one's the salad fork? Is it the fork on your left or on your alt-right if you're at an Italian restaurant with a bunch of white supremacists and Tila Tequila? Man, that after party at that white supremacy convention, man, had to be lit. Jeez. Right? I mean, you think Tila Tequila goes anywhere dry? She's got to be, you know, it's got to be packing. I bet you those hotel rooms, you know, probably producing clouds as white as the hoods that they would pull out. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Let me just ask y'all a question. How much do we care about what those assholes think that are in that room, that are zig heiling for Trump? How much do we care about David Duke? How much do we care about the American KKK? Because, like, all these folks didn't, like, they might have had a little surge in membership, you know, with this whole thing going on, but they were here before, and we didn't really care all that much. In fact, I bet you all these white supremacy folks were probably saying a lot of nasty stuff when we elected a black president twice. But we didn't cover them then. We cover them now because we want to prove a point? Is that it? Do we want to prove that Steve Bannon's a Nazi, and that's why we're going to show these assholes on television all night? This is why we're going to ask David Duke what he likes every time? Because I'll bet you this, man. I'll bet you David Duke and I probably like a lot of the same things. Like, I bet you if I were to talk to David Duke and I was like, hey, man, what do you like at Chick-fil-A? And he was like, well, really, any of the chicken breast sandwiches are great. I pretty much adore the waffle fries. I think that they're fantastic. And you know what? I really like their breakfast. I like their little muffin chicken breakfast sandwich. I think that that's good, too. I'd be like, damn, David Duke, we got something in common. Because I also like Chick-fil-A. I think it's delicious. I love the addition of the one little pickle chip in the center of the sandwich. I think it brings everything together. But does that make me in line with David Duke? Right? Like, I don't know how much we need to ask of him. Because I personally don't care about his opinion because I find him to be an abhorrent human being. I find everybody who's in that room that's zig heiling, Heil Trump, I think that they're a asshole and a nuisance. Now, if people were there and they were like running for president, like I would say, all right, I pause now. Now I don't. That's important. It's important to show that video over and over and over and over again. These are just a bunch of yahoos doing yahoo nonsense down there in D.C. Like, what on earth? Like, I don't. The only thing I can think of is that we want to tie this to Steve Bannon, right? And we can already tell right now that Steve Bannon is going to be the Karl Rove of this administration. When I was in college, and maybe I'll throw these up on the Patreon page. When I was in college, George W. Bush had just been elected. I was in college from 2001 to 2005, so I was there for the first Bush administration and then his reelection. And my teachers in politics and sociology would talk about Karl Rove like he was the devil, like he was the worst person on earth. And I'm going to go ahead and assume that that's just going to be what Steve Bannon is for the next 4 to 8 years. In fact, in college, I used to write a comic called The Devil and Karl Rove, wherein Karl Rove would constantly play tricks on the devil. The devil was the nice guy. He was like the little brother, and Karl Rove was like always pulling mean-spirited pranks on him. Because I was always amused by that dynamic, that somebody could be worse than the devil, that somebody could be just absolutely abhorrent on such an insane level that nobody could possibly comprehend his evilness. And I feel like Steve Bannon's going to be there. Now, I'm not here to defend literally any and everything that Steve Bannon has done. But let's be level-headed here. Let's understand who Steve Bannon is. And I'm going to try to do this in as dispassionate a way as I can, just so we can find where we agree on, so we can be more informed of where we disagree. Okay? Steve Bannon came to prominence because he took over a site called Breitbart after its founder, the titular Breitbart, died unexpectedly. That man, Breitbart, was the Sancho Panza to the Don Quixote of Matt Drudge. It can be easily said that Breitbart built an empire on Drudge links. He wrote about stuff that he knew Matt Drudge wanted to link to. Matt Drudge, who has a very popular website, linked to him all the time. So I have indirectly been a reader of Breitbart because I am a reader of Drudge Report for as long as Breitbart's existed. There's one thing that I do know for sure about Breitbart. It is a blog network. What is a blog network? Blog network is a collection of many blogs. Many times either not vetted or very lightly vetted by a central authority. You just kind of deputize people to say, hey, go write about this topic 4 to 6 times a day. If you need money to go do something or maybe go pay for something, then come to us, we'll approve it, and we'll write you a check or reimburse your credit card. But in general, you're just writing a blog. You're hired to write a blog. So, File says it's like a semi-professional Zanga. Sure, that's a way to look at it. Now, again, I'm not trying to defend anything that shows up on Breitbart. There is some abhorrent stuff that shows up on Breitbart. However, it was not but a few months ago that a lot of folks in my timeline were trying to point out that a blog is about its high points and not its low points. That we need to focus on the important elements of what a new media blog empire can do and not focus endlessly on its albeit trivial missteps. This was not about Breitbart. This was about Gawker. The point that was being made as Peter Thiel and Hulk Hogan tag-teamed to take out Gawker and forced its sale to Univision, the rallying cry was, this is what Gawker does. Look at all the important things that Gawker did. Look at the Manti Te'o story. Look at the the exposure of Rob Ford. Look at all these things that are investigative journalism that can only be uncovered by the kind of hard-charging, pay-for-play attitude that Gawker brings to the scene. And I was sympathetic to that. I was. Because I always believe that, more journalism is better, even when it goes awry. Now, the Gawker thing is kind of a story for another day in why they went out of business. Because ultimately, this is the deal that any journalist makes, is you get protection, you can write about people, you can almost, the law gives you get your word to possibly ruin somebody's reputation as long as you follow libel law, which basically says that you can't be shown to, with intention, ruin somebody's character or knowingly print misleading or damaging things. That's why I think Gawker went down. But let's go back to Breitbart. Because it is my opinion not that we should not criticize Breitbart. Because again, I read an interview with Steve Bannon that said, "Hey, look, we are the gathering place for many lines of conservative thought, from youth conservative thought, atheist conservative thought, Christian conservative thought, gay conservative thought, and ethno-national conservative thought." And he said, "Listen, there's stuff in the ethno-national area that I find very uncomfortable." So I don't think that it's in question that you can find awful stuff that's been run on Breitbart. I don't. I do, however, think two things. Number one, the vast majority of everybody that's criticizing Steve Bannon right now has probably never read or not a regular reader of Breitbart. And number two, that you're doing exactly what he wants. To the letter, exactly what he wants. For this reason, and he spells it out. There was a Wall Street Journal thing and a I think it was a Hollywood Reporter bio, and I read both of them, and they were really, really fascinating, and I would highly recommend everybody who's listening to this read them to better understand this person. Even if you hate him and you are predisposed to hate him, learn more about him. But he spells out, and this was a quote that ran around on Twitter: Stalin, Darth Vader, Dick Cheney, these figures have power. And in my timeline, that was taken to mean, oh, well, look, geez, how evil can this guy be? He's just twirling his mustache, ain't he? Well, what he meant, and if you read that quote in context, is that if everybody thinks I'm a one-dimensional cardboard cutout of, kind of like the Michael Jordan jump man, but a Hitler giving a Zig Heil, if that's what the left thinks of me, that's perfect. Because they are prosecuting a line of thought that isn't anywhere near where we're going. And it shows that they're not talking to the zeitgeist of the nation. The zeitgeist of the nation that put them in the White House. Because the issue here isn't prosecuting who's the racist or playing the game who's the racist and trying to pin the most racist thing you can find on somebody else. The game that Steve Bannon wants to play is globalism versus non-globalism. And if you don't know what that is, and you are a voter of Hillary Clinton, then you need to understand it. Because I am telling you right now, that is the defining element of our times. It is the political question of the modern era. Globalism versus non-globalism. And I am here to tell you, my friends, that I am not particularly well up on this either. If I was, I would have been talking about it before the election. But now we're here. We are here now. That's what he wants to talk about. And for every video of a bunch of JOs throwing up their right hand and yelling in German that you play, that you watch, that you retweet, that you put up on Facebook with an SMH, the less you're learning about the game that is being played. Because you can satiate yourself saying that dude's a racist, let's move on. And again, don't take me wrong. Breitbart has had some very, very, very horrifying things on it. Steve Bannon, personally, I can't see into the man's heart. He may well indeed be a racist. I think that the alt-right terminology has kind of gotten way out of control, stretched to the point where I don't even know exactly what it means. But I will say this. If you do not pay attention to globalism versus non-globalism, then we're not like we're just walking around, man. Because the Trump campaign has done this effectively. Just when you have the right answers, they change the question. They Roddy Pipered your ass. And for liberal America, they're just waking up on the floor with coconuts shattered around themselves, lying on the ground, wondering what the hell happened. I'm going to tell you this. Calling somebody a racist ain't going to do it. If you want to rebound and you want to fight for your interests effectively, you have to speak the language of the people that put Trump in the White House. And those people are afraid of globalization. And I will tell you this. My understanding of that topic as we move on week by week will be a continued and dominant part of this show. I'm going to I'm going to do my best to educate myself on this, and we will all walk this road together, hand in hand. The other big story that I'm reading about right now is Audit the Vote. Audit the Vote. Let's go here. Medium post up today, and a New Yorker, I believe, article came out talking about a computer science professor in Michigan who says that has had a long history of proving computers are very susceptible to voter fraud. And that indeed, in a year where we saw Russian operatives hack into the DNC's email, hack into John Podesta's email, publish them via WikiLeaks to affect the election, that we saw voter registrations hacked, that yes, indeed, we could live in a world where malware was installed on voting machines in 4 key states: Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and swung the election. Because we live in a world now where Hillary Clinton is creeping up on 2 million votes up in the popular vote. She is going to ultimately come close, maybe a little short, of where Barack Obama was in 2012. But in those 4 states, and more specifically in key counties, you could make the argument that those deli-thin margins could be attacked via malware. And so he calls for an audit of the vote. It is about time that we audited the vote. We need to get all that paper back out. Let's count it on up. Let's see where we land. I firmly believe that this should be automatic. Like, I don't quite know why somebody has to challenge it. You know, I think that you should always show your work, right? I think it's just better. Just gives us more accurate records, right? So I'm all for Hillary Clinton auditing the vote. All for it. And hell, if we uncover, God forbid, some kind of malicious, deliberate attack that effectively swung democracy, then absolutely we need to stamp it out with the kind of veracity that we have never seen before. However, let's all play a little game, okay? Travel with me, won't you? As we go into the land of make-believe. Let's go to a world where Hillary Clinton won the presidency. And it indeed was Donald Trump asking for us to audit the vote and saying by way of a professor, that same professor, that you want to know what? Look at these very thin margins in these counties. I believe that the Trump campaign should take the necessary steps to audit the vote, because otherwise, how are we going to know who really is president? How do you think that would have went? I'm just asking. Just got a glass of Pinot Gris at 2 p.m. out here in Davie, Florida, man. I'm just asking questions. I don't think it would have went well. I think that professor would have been ridiculed. I think that it would have been looked at as Donald Trump with sour grapes. I don't think that there would be any scholarly thought on this. I don't think that there would be, if you look at the chain of custody of government laptops, indeed there is a very many windows where you could infect the computer of the various voting boards and then have that maliciously pass itself from machine to machine. You want to know what? There is indeed a vulnerability in this system. Think we would have got that? Come on, dog. You think we would have? I don't know. Something tells me that it would have been, it would have been different. Whiskey Wolf says, ICU said, would it have been Trump plus 2 million votes? Let's say it was, right? Like, I'm just saying. I'm not saying, I'm just saying that this is one of those things that I think I'm for it. I would have been for it if Trump asked for it, because I just think it's smart. All these voting machines need to have paper trails. Like, and this professor makes the argument that paper is still the best way that you can actually vote in America. That it's way too easy to corrupt these systems. And by the way, salute to everybody who runs polling places, but this ain't exactly their full-time job, right? They got a life. They got dependencies. How much do you think it would be to legitimately bribe a poll worker? Right? Like, probably not all that much. Thousands, maybe. Like, these are people volunteering for the good of democracy, and God bless them. And I hope that they would all resist. But you got to figure one of them has a drug dependency, right? Got to figure one of them just lost their jobs. One of them has kids. I think that we do have, vulnerabilities in this system. And therefore, I think we should be extra careful about it, especially when we have tight margins. I'm just saying that now that the bombs have fallen and we are all kind of in this world that we are now trying to reshape, let's just take a pause and understand that sometimes, for the conservative listeners, this kind of double standard is what they get pissed at. When we talk about a liberal media, or some people talk about a liberal media, this is the kind of stuff. Because if this were Trump asking for auditing the vote, or Trump supporters asking for auditing the vote, I feel like they'd be looked at differently than the scholarly attention we are giving this man right now, which I, again, think is the right way to go. We had another interesting development in the transition, by the way. Nikki Haley named UN ambassador for America. Nikki Haley was somebody that had very tough things to say about Donald Trump. So interesting. She was initially mentioned for Secretary of State. Now she is going to be U.S. ambassador. It appears that Rudy Giuliani will be the Secretary of what's that? Did you guys hear that? I was saying Rudy Giuliani will probably be our... I hear just this whisper on the wind out here. Again, we are outside. I just hear it's a high-pitch whistling. A high-pitch whistling. Whenever I say that Rudy Giuliani is going to be our Secretary of State, can you guys... It sounds a little bit like, did somebody forget their mittens? Mitt Romney. Possibly the next Secretary of State. Possibly the next Secretary of State. Now that is very interesting. Nobody went harder on Trump than Romney. Nobody. You know, he did all but run. He did everything that he could. Well, he didn't endorse somebody. So, yeah. He didn't do that. But he certainly had the harshest words. He had the highest profile with the harshest words for him. Because the Bushes, aside from Jeb, didn't put their name on anything as harsh as what Mitt did. Mitt came out and said that Trump was a phony and a fraud and that his promises were about worth as much as a degree from Trump University. Blah, 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 blah. Shots fired from the mittens. It's like, man, these mittens got to have a trigger finger on them the way I'm taking shots. Pop, pop, pop. And now, Secretary of State. Secretary of State, possibly. It's apparently a big fight in between the various factions of the Trump transition team that some would like Mitt and some would like Giuliani. I personally believe that Mitt would be a better fit. The mittens would fit better. I think it diversifies the attitude of the Trump administration and begins to lend credence to the idea that he is hiring the best people. That was one of his things, right? I'm going to hire the best people. They're going to be the best. And the knock on him, Trump, and something that I have levied against him, and I continue to, because again, all right, you want to know what? We'll get into the Hamilton thing in a second. Let's stay on Mitt. Is if Mitt Romney is going around from country to country and making these deals and being the person at the negotiating table, I think that's good. It puts a different face on things. And it lets Trump just kind of sit in the White House and bitch about theater kids. I've kind of liked Giuliani, probably because he's Italian. But to be fair, I haven't exactly followed. I didn't follow every element of his mayorship of New York. I just don't think that he has a lot of international experience. You know, when he ran for president, that was a problem. Like he couldn't show his bona fides when it came to international relations. And so now he's going to be Secretary of State, where it's literally all he has to do. I mean, I don't know. Mitt Romney seems like somebody that, like, is going to sit down across from Kim Jong-un and project American strength, I guess. Much in the same way that I kind of liked Hillary Clinton doing it. Like, I was never, and I explained to you guys on this why I couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, but it's like, initially when she was Secretary of State, I'm like, man, she's like, mean old grandma. Like, I want that when you're sitting down across the negotiating table. I want to be like, oh, what's America look like? This mean old grandma. I was down with it. I liked it. Gangster. I think Mitt would do that same thing. Mitt would sit there with his crisp ass hair. He's got little parts of his hair so thick that you'd stab you in the eye, rip your cornea right out of you. I think that would be all right. We got to talk. Do we have to talk about him? Do we have to talk about it? Do we have to talk about the like? Just let me know in the chat room. I'm gonna go with you guys right now in the chat room. Do we have to talk about the Hamilton thing? Do we want to talk about the Hamilton thing, or are we done with the Hamilton thing? Where are we at on Hamilton? We're getting a lot of no's. W. Scott is thankful. Says yes because I don't understand. All right. Well, we'll talk about the Hamilton thing. Let me just say this. I have zero stake in this game. I hate this Hamilton thing. Hate this Hamilton thing. For those of you who are living under a rock, Mike Pence decided to go to Hamilton. Hamilton, an American musical, is a Broadway show that has won many, many Tonys and has become a bit of a cultural landmark. Mike Pence decided to go for a night in the theater, and while walking into Hamilton, got mostly booze. It was a rain-snow mix, a wintry mix, if you will. A little bit of cheers, 20% cheers, 80% booze. I think if you watch the video, that's probably where it breaks down. Jack Devaney says the gay conversion guy going to Broadway musicals. What a world, right? So he goes, watches the show, and then as he is leaving, the actor who plays Aaron Burr in the musical calls attention and says, we would, Vice President-elect Pence, I know you're leaving. If you could please stay for a few more minutes, we'd like to read this. And they read a prepared statement that effectively says, we are very scared by your administration, and we hope that watching our musical will allow you to understand our fear and protect us, guide you into protecting us more. Where do you guys want to start of who I'm annoyed about? Trump or Hamilton? Let me get in the chat room because I'm very annoyed with both. Do you want me to talk about why I'm annoyed with Hamilton or why I'm annoyed with Trump? We will start wherever you want. All right. Let's start with Trump. Trump tweets no less than 4 times. This man is the president-elect of the United States. Tweets no less than 4 times about how it was rude and disrespectful of A, the audience goers to boo Mike Pence, and the Hamilton folks to lecture him on stage, to hector him, to verbally abuse him from the stage. It's one thing when you're a private citizen. And maybe he's transitioning out of this. Maybe he's conversioning out of this. In fact, I'll tell you what, I would very much like to see some of those gay conversion techniques applied to Trump to make him less of a Twitterer. Because I hate the presidency not being a dignified office. I think that the presidency at its best should be the most regal mailman, right? We should all criticize it, maximum criticism, maximum respect. Both. And you should act like you got some power, like you got some stroke, baby. You can do whatever you want. And Donald Trump is going to clean up as president financially. And it bothers me that he's not divesting himself fully from his business interests. But let's be real here. If he did fully divest himself from his business interests, and he literally had nothing to do with anything, business-wise from here on out for the next 4 to 8 years, these foreign governments are still going to approve his permits because they're going to want to try to do anything they can to curry favor with him. Like, that stuff is going to happen. You got stroke, son. Stroke. And here you are on Twitter with some don't piss me off slap nuts BS. Come on, man. These are theater kids. They're out here strutting their stuff, and you're going to take aim at them? Send private word. Maybe have a spokesperson out on CNN. Have a surrogate light these kids up. But yourself? Out of your own mouth? 4 times? Come on, man. Come on. But don't think Hamilton's spared. Because I'm not buying this, oh, man, we just tried to make a conversation. It was a conversation. Really, dude? Really? It was a conversation where you have a microphone and the other side does it. You're standing on stage and telling everybody to record it. Because guess what, man? I follow Lin-Manuel Miranda on Twitter. And I saw when he was running Hamilton, or when he was playing Hamilton, the creator, he had every celebrity I've ever seen in my entire life backstage. Anybody who's ever done anything was on Lin-Manuel Miranda's Twitter. They all came backstage. They all were able to hug and talk and take selfies. So if you really wanted to have a conversation, you're telling me that the best way is not to invite him backstage and hand him a letter? The best way is not to make sure his family and kids are taken care of and make sure that you give them a bunch of stuff, or at least say that you did and they declined? No, the best way to have a conversation is to stand up on stage, read a note that infuriatingly suggests that your musical is going to better help guide the country, as read by Aaron Burr, the guy who tried to shoot Alexander Hamilton. Yes, Aaron Burr taking verbal shots at an actual vice president. That's the best way to have a conversation. For real. Okay. Did shoot. Sorry. Not tried to. Did shoot. Who shot you? Aaron Burr. That's who. He might as well have just read the lyrics to Who Shot You. Might as well have just read Pac's verse. Or sorry, no, Biggie's verse for Who Shot You. Pac's verse for Hit 'Em Up. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and read some emails. You can email me, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Again, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Logan writes, I listened to the latest show you did a couple days ago, and I would like to write you. I am a retired this year white male, college educated, and I've lived the past 45 plus years on the sun coast of Florida. I voted for Trump. Not because I think he'll do the best job. I voted because everyone in Washington didn't want him. I figured anyone those rich a-holes didn't want was a good reason to vote for him. The other reason is I got tired of all the negative ads Hillary was running. 3 to 5 ads at a time, every commercial break, all evening. Besides, Bill was the one that caused the last recession, and he lied to me. He did have sex with that girl when he should have been doing the nation's business. He then goes on to remind everybody that life was worse. Go ahead and look up the end of Jimmy Carter's presidency. He ends, I thank you for doing politics. I enjoyed your take without picking sides. I stopped listening to other podcasts because of their opinions. I really, really enjoyed the Gary Johnson vape pen bit. It got me a lot of laughs on the golf course that week. Oh, my God. Yes, I love that people are making PX3 references on the golf course. That's my man. I love it. Thank you very, very, very much for writing in, Logan. He adds as a P.S., I hope that the bond market doesn't collapse this summer. It's time for the 40-year cycle to hit. It won't make a difference who's in charge. We will all hurt. Well, there we go. Ending on a sunny note. Thank you very, very much to Logan. Moving on. Thanks again, by the way, to our deputy who adds all of our notes here to our doc. Mark from Greenville, South Carolina writes, Dear Justin, could you talk in the future about the weird current and past political figures in the U.S.? For example, Augustus Saul Invictus in Florida, or one I'm more familiar with, J.E. McTeer Jr., who is sheriff of Beaufort County, South Carolina for 35 years. He was, as far as I'm aware, the youngest person in the United States to be appointed sheriff at 23. He was also a practicing witch doctor. No joke. There are so many delightful weirdos holding office. Many of them are fascinating. Okay, folks, send them in. TheYoungAmerican@gmail.com. TheYoungAmerican@gmail.com. Send in your favorite political weirdos. Your favorite political weirdos. I want to talk about all of them, and I need your help to do it. All right. Shift Lock writes, it occurred to me that if North Korea successfully develops an ICBM that can deliver a nuclear warhead in the next 4 years, when tensions run high, the world may be looking for someone to negotiate peace talks between Kim Jong-un and President Trump. There is only one guy I know that knows them both personally, having met both Trump on The Celebrity Apprentice and having visited North Korea and hung out with Kim Jong-un many times. That person to save the world from nuclear destruction is Fort Lauderdale bar regular Dennis Rodman. Man, I'm going down to Tap 44 tonight, man. That's where he hangs out locally. I'm gonna pitch this to him. I'm gonna say, listen, your country might need you, Worm. Your country just might need you. Scale writes, Dear Mr. Robert Young, I've got a torture metaphor for you. LOL, rolling on the floor. It's Kevin Costner's Waterworld. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, this is a global warming thing, right? Wrong. It's not. The oceans rise for a completely different reason. Liberal tears. I don't think either candidate was good for America. Coming from a country with free-ish education, I was firmly a Bernie bro. As much as I was a dirty foreigner, I can be anything else, I suppose. So once Hillary won the nomination, I just wanted a candidate that would stir the most poop to win. And he won. Oh, the liberal, not my president tears. All y'all thought the barrels of memes fuel had ignited already. We're going to see so much more. This election, America decided 4 more years of Pepe. And all I can do is laugh. Thank you, America. You have not disappointed. And thank you, Mr. Robert Young. Throughout this whole debacle, you have remained the most balanced and neutral voice I listen to. And as this election season has provided many an LOL, ROFL, I listen to a lot. Thanks again, and good luck in Trump's America. Maybe he'll drain the swamp. Maybe he won't. Either way, enjoy the dumpster fire. And I look forward to more PX3 to listen to just that. Well, thank you very much, Scale. Aaron writes, a suggestion for a new segment similar to TMS's Twitter segment. I think you should do your personal spin on Trump's tweet of the week, because I'm sure it will be funny and you'll have plenty of material for the next 4 years. Number 2, if nuclear war is started by Trump over Twitter, you'd be the first to scoop it. Tweet of the week. I feel like there's something there. We can do something with tweet of the week. And then Aaron has a big, long campaign strategy that I will probably use for another election, or another episode, rather. Dan Anderson writes, Greetings, sir. I appreciate your insight on this show and TMS. Your comment about money and politics left me wanting more information. Here are a few questions. What do you think is the key issue with money and politics? It does not always seem to result in getting candidate X elected. Do you think it has any long-term effect on the way issues are framed and discussed? 2, can the candidate ever be successful without a large amount of money at their disposal? Is this good, bad, or indifferent? 3, how do you factor in free media into the calculus of how money affects politics? Thank you for your consideration. Looking forward to your thoughts, Dan the Merce. Well, number 1, I agree with you. I've always thought that money in politics is a little bit of an overrated question. Just because, number 1, there's always going to be money. And number 2, I've kind of enjoyed the fact that you need to raise a little bit of money to run a national campaign. Because I kind of think it's the first mini-boss, is you got to convince a bunch of people that you're worth it, enough so that they part with their cash. Because there's going to be a lot of that when you become president. There's going to be a lot of you asking for way bigger favors from people than just give me some money, to people who have so much money that giving away money isn't that big of a deal. So I've always thought it was a little bit of an overrated issue, and I've always thought campaign finance reform is just kind of a little... I can understand where it comes from, and it was one of the first issues that I really cared about when I was a kid. But as I get older, I start to think, well, rich people get what they want anyway. And we're just going to have to make different hurdles for them to clear before they spend their money on their preferred candidate. So whether or not it's running totally blind PACs that just savage another opponent without mentioning who they're actually supporting, or they give it straight to the campaign, or the campaigns can run kind of loosely affiliated super PACs, it's just gonna happen. I guess question 2, can a candidate be successful, is sort of running off that yeah, no, you need a little bit of money. You got to buy fairly expensive television ads. You got to, just go on tour, right? You got to get venues. You got to get security. You got to bring your staff everywhere. You got to put them all up in hotels. You got to charter a jet. You got to bring the press along. Someone's got to spring for Subway. What about a Blimpies every once in a while? You got to get a little cash for that. So yeah, I think you do need you need a bunch of money. But listen, the guy who won the presidency got outspent by a large margin, huge margin, bigly. And how do you factor in free media into the calculus? Homeboy, Dan the Merce, that is the $1 million question. Because I'll guarantee you this, in 2020, man, hindsight won't be 2020. Free media will be 2020. We are going to see the people that will make it through the primary on the left will be the ones who can generate the most free media.
Politics, 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 politics.
That about wraps it up for us. Thank you for joining me on my mom's porch out here in Davie, Florida. Again, thecontender.us, Black Friday deals all weekend. Free shipping if you use offer code GOBBLE. Our Diamond Club sticker packs are also available. They make a great gift to all of our other Diamond Club folks. Hit me up, Justin R. Young, on every social media platform you can. And until next time, some people talk about politics, others talk about politics, still others talk about politics. This is the only one that talks about all three. We will see you next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.